I would say, two general approaches. One is a specific developing the meditation on specific objects, meaning individual beings. One goes through a list. There's a traditional list that you go through. You begin with yourself. So with metta, may I be well and happy. And stay with that as long as it takes to raise this feeling. And I think it helps with all of these brahma-vihāra meditations if you begin by centering your consciousness in the middle of the chest, like the heart chakra. You center your consciousness there and try to develop this feeling, and you'll know when you have it, this kind of glow, this warm feeling, may I be well and happy. You've got that going, then you hold that for a while, then you go through the list. The second one is someone you regard as a teacher. And the third is your parents, if they are still alive. If not, you skip that step. You do not offer brahma-vihāra meditations to the dead. The practice for helping the dead is to make merit. The danger is offering metta or karuna to the dead is if they're in the ghost realm, they're going to hang around feeding off that energy and they're not actually going to move on. So you're actually thwarting their further evolution. So you don't offer metta to the dead. So your parents, if they're still alive, then the third one, the next one after that is a dear friend, someone who you naturally have warm feelings towards. And you're cautioned here also to avoid someone you might have romantic or sexual feelings for, because it can turn easily into lust. So there's someone who's a dear friend, but you're not attracted to them sexually. They're either the wrong gender or just the wrong age or whatever. Then a neutral person, someone who you don't have strong feelings about one way or the other. You can pick someone like a face you can remember from seeing in the street, or you exchanged a few words with the shopkeeper or something. Just someone quite neutral. And then the last one is the enemy person, someone that makes you angry, who's being cruel to you or causes you trouble, someone you have difficulty with. Then that's the final one. And you're trying to develop, you go through this list, and the idea is to start from the relatively easy ones to go to the hard ones at the end. And the objective is to break down the barriers, meaning that you feel the same feeling tone towards all of them. You don't have any preferential. You don't have more metta for the dear friend than for the enemy. You feel exactly the same towards all of them. That's the ideal you're working towards. May they be well and happy. And remember, that doesn't mean you approve of them or like them or want to hang around with them. It just means that you wish them well. There's a story in the Visuddhimagga about the monk who developed a perfection of this breaking down the barriers. It says he was traveling. It's quite an artificial situation set up here, but it's for the purposes of the story. He's traveling, and he has three companions. One of them is his dear friend, who's a boyhood friend, and they both ordained together, and they in the same monastery for a long time. The second one is a random monk from somewhere else that they picked up on the road. They don't know him at all, just hanging around with him. And the fourth one is this old crabby monk who's always been giving them a hard time, criticizing them and complaining. So the four of them are traveling together, and they're this one who's like the actor of the story. He's captured by bandits who belong to this Thugi cult that does human sacrifices. And they tell him, we're going to sacrifice one of your company to our dark god who's thirsty for blood. And you can choose which one. Which one of the four is going to die. And, what do you think he said? A lot of people would jump in and say, well, he should sacrifice himself. Well, that wouldn't be correct. That's, again, preferential. He said, I can't make up my mind. It doesn't make any difference. You just pick them by chance. This is the breaking down the barrier. He has no discrimination between the four. He feels the same with all of them. It's sort of a gruesome story, but a lot of the Buddhist stories are that way. It would work the same. It would work the same if it was a positive reward. Someone was going to get some kind of wonderful gift he had to pick. It would be the same thing. So I just choose by chance. So that's going through the list, and you can do that with any of the three meditations. I'll tell you another anecdote. Years ago, I was at a conference with other bhikkhus, and one of the monks had arrived, by air that day, and he had told the story that he was sitting in the airport. He got detained at the airport because he was sitting waiting, and he saw the cops going around with a sniffer dog. They sniff for drugs and explosives. And he was practicing metta meditation, and he sent metta to the dog. And the dog came over and muzzled him. So the cops are like, okay, you. So that one of the elder monks was giving a talk about metta, and he said, now remember, when you're doing metta, there's three classes of people you avoid: the dead, someone who can arouse lust, and drug-sniffing dogs. So that's the idea of developing brahma-vihāras by going through the list. And this method is probably the best if you want to take it into jhana. You can go into first jhana with the metta meditation, because the object is very defined and specific. The other method is being called extension by general pervasion. And you're not using specific individuals in this, but you're spreading out the brahma-vihāra increasingly out in wider circles to encompass all beings. And you begin again with yourself. You establish it towards yourself, and then you spread it out to the immediate vicinity. I mean, all the beings in this room, and then extend it to wider and wider circles, like all the beings in this neighborhood, and in New York City, and in the state, and then the whole continent. And then by stages, as you go gradually, the whole earth, and then to the whole universe. And the idea is you start with yourself and centered in the heart chakra, and you're radiating metta from your heart to fill the space. And the mature, developed form of this meditation is you're radiating metta universally in all directions. And you're trying to include all beings, seen and unseen, human beings, those lower than human, those higher than human, and animals and ghosts, as well as devas and brahmas. You're trying to fill the whole cosmos with metta, radiating to infinity. So this is a truly the boundless state, boundless meditation. This isn't as focused as the other, but it's very expansive and very brightening to the mind. And it's very powerful if you can get it going to elevate the state of consciousness, so you're feeling very spacious and vast. You're really tapping into that expansive aspect, the vastness. You're radiating into the 10 directions of space. And I would recommend, if you do this meditation, when you break the meditation, not to break it off suddenly, but to bring it back. Like you're radiating to the universe, then bring it back to this earth and to this city, this room, and to myself. And you can bring it back much more quickly than you brought it out, but just to get yourself grounded again, and you end the meditation with a few breaths, noticing your heart, centered on your heart. And may I be well and happy. End the meditation, so you're not left feeling like spaced out. Don't leave your consciousness somewhere on the other side of Alpha Centauri. Bring it back to grounded here on the mat. And this can be done with any of the three meditations, metta, karuna, mudita. And you can take your time with it. Don't rush it. Take it out in stages. And you can use verbal recitations in the mind. May all beings be well and happy, great or small, near or far, seen or unseen. Humans, animals, birds, insects, spirits, ghosts. And and you can take it out gradually and use whatever feels natural to you and allows you to use it as a vehicle. Visualizing rays emanating from the heart center, filling out the universe is one way, and try to keep it, once you get to the expansive, out to the spreading it out to all directions to infinity, try and hold it there. That's the mature meditation. That's the actual meditation. This is the boundless state, apamana, without boundary. This is considered infinite. The fourth one, upekkha, is not so easy to develop as a formal meditation, but it's more of a reflection that you can bring up at any time. There's a talk that I read a transcript of. It was given by the Dalai Lama he was talking about this, developing equanimity, and he talked about the way to do it is one being at a time. So you regard beings you see you're in a crowded place, you're in the subway train, and you look up and down and just think of each individual being, each person. He just wants happiness, doesn't want suffering. Develop it, one being at a time, so specific. You're noticing, so then you're focusing not on the various characteristics of individuals, but on their universal aspect. One of my teachers, he had a kind of a playful way of doing this. He taught a little mantra you can do when you're in a crowded place and kind of scan the faces of people and think to yourself, here a Buddha, there a Buddha, everywhere a Buddha. I'm a Buddha, you're a Buddha, everyone's a Buddha. It's the same idea. Because this is another aspect of beings that's universal. Beings have what Mahayana calls a Buddha nature, but all beings have chitta, they have the consciousness there, they have this spark of awareness. Even the lowliest being has this kind of spark of chitta, and just focusing on that. Each one is in itself is in a sense a universe of experience. So developing any of those first three brahma-viharas will also, over time, tend to open the mind to an understanding of equanimity of beings as well, because you're breaking down the barriers. You're trying to make these feelings universal, both in terms of space and in terms of multiplicity of individuals. May all beings, each and every single individual being, be well and happy. May they be free from suffering. May they continue to enjoy the happiness they have found. And all these states of mind are very useful for overcoming negativity, for freeing yourself from anger and ill will and hostility. Develop these feelings of metta, karuna, mudita. So I think that's all I'm going to say about those states. It's something for you to, another tool to work with. So we're going to go till, it's now